There's the give right at the middle, and big hold by Franklin. He breaks it. He's gone. He's gone. He's going to catch him 40, 30, 20, 15, 10. He's gone. Touchdown.
Welcome, Wildcat fans. It's Monday night, and this is News Radio 1400 KTEM. I'm Alan Roark, and we are here live from Wings Pizza and Things, hosted by Mike Dent. We're here on HK Dodge and Loop in Temple, Texas, with tonight's edition of Inside Wildcat Football, which is the weekly show with Temple head coach Scott Stewart. Before we get to Coach Stewart tonight, though, we have a special guest. He's the new color voice of the Temple Wildcats, Art Coley. Art, this is your first season, and everybody give Art a hand. How about that? Make some noise for Art Coley.
Yes. I'm waiting to say something like "There the Cats are," busting out of the it's
of the tunnel, coming out of
different settings. Seeing you, Darren over there, radio station staff
in a much smaller
where's
location.
the band, the kittens,
So Art, I guess first things first, man. This is your first season behind the mic, up in the booth at Wildcat Football. Are you having as much fun as I am doing this?
No, nobody has as much fun as you do doing this, Alan. That's we all know that, but you're just that kind of guy. No, yeah, I am. I'm having a blast. I mean, when I got the call from the radio station, and I think that a few people they'd made a list of names, and I was way at the bottom, and the others said no, and they just kind of got down to sloppy, just said we got to get somebody in here. But no, when I got the call about it, I just thought, wow, I hadn't really thought about doing something like that. And then you start wondering, I'll tell you, you start paying maybe you know this, Alan, you do this now. Do you find yourself paying a lot more attention to broadcast, like what they say and how the logistics of it?
Very much.
Because, when we started talking about this a few months ago, I had no idea what all goes into a Friday night or a football broadcast. And the preparation and trying to memorize names and statistics and so that part's been humbling to know just what all goes into and God bless him, Joe Palmer, man, the play-by-play. Now that is, that's the job. That's where he really earns that big paycheck.
Yeah, he does.
That we get each week.
That's the toughest job to do,
from
sure.
From the play-by-play stuff. But I feel like we get to have just a little bit more fun, and Joe's really working.
Yeah, no doubt. He's always in a pool of sweat by the time the game ends. That's for
but
sure.
Alan, to do this, I actually came out of retirement. Because
I was going to talk about that.
Oh,
because
okay.
You said that they went down this long list and everybody said no, but I was thinking that maybe, News Radio KTEM just went and dug in the files and pulled out your resume or maybe your old time card or something, because you used to work for KTEM back in the day, didn't you?
The old building right across from Christ Episcopal Church. Some of you may remember that KTEM KPLE building that
Main
was there.
Street, right?
It's on Main Street. Yeah, it's torn down now. And in high school, they had an opening position for the glorious midnight to 6 a.m. It was Magic 105. Got to play all the, Steely Dan rocked the house, on that.
Oh, yeah.
And even little, and then KTEM. So I was running those two stations from 12 midnight to 6 a.m. on the weekend. So then I went into retirement at age 18. And then decided to come out of retirement for a Wildcat broadcast on Friday nights.
Well, we're sure glad you did. And I guess, your story's pretty long, too. I guess you and I have known each other for quite a few years. We go all the way back to the Temple Boys Choir days, don't we?
Temple Boys Choir, and that's right. And here, true story, Alan and his brother Wayne and I and a number of others were in the Temple Boys Choir. The only difference, like tonight, my mic is turned on. When we were in the Temple Boys Choir, they wouldn't turn my mic. It's Melissa. That's the truth. They wouldn't turn my mic. So he actually got to sing. And if y'all don't know Alan here, he's quite a singer. Maybe you could sing a song one of these nights.
I don't know about that. We might lose a sponsor or two if we did that. But I guess, something else we ought to mention is the fact that not only are you upstairs watching football from the booth now, you used to be on that field, didn't you?
Yes. Yep. And
you played for the legendary Bob McQueen.
I did. It's something I'm very proud of. And my senior season was '87. We actually got the 500th win.
Oh, wow.
The last game of the season against Georgetown. And as a junior, got to play with Tommy Wiley over there. His son's a quarterback, sophomore quarterback. And Tommy was an offensive lineman. And even, I was a junior. Tommy's a year older. He's your class, '87. And And
he's way older than I am.
Yeah,
though.
but you always knew you never had to worry about somebody sacking you if they were coming from Tommy Wiley's side on the defense. He took care of business over there for sure.
That's what I heard. I heard he got at least half a letter on his letter jacket. So,
but as a sophomore, I had to run scout team against him too, and you weren't very nice. So.
Well, we do have another quarterback set of parents over here. Reed Hess's parents are here tonight too.
Got the Hess family. That's right. We got to Reed having 1,100 yards of passing or so in 5 games.
Man.
Only played the first half.
He had a great night Friday night. But speaking of passing and quarterback statistics, you were all set your senior year as starting quarterback of the Temple Wildcats. Tell us a little bit about that and what happened.
Well, I mean, boy, you just really cut to the chase here. So
we're not playing around.
No, we're not. We're going to. Yeah, it lasted until 3 minutes into the third quarter against the Bryan Vikings at Viking Stadium, and so I running 34 belly option. Anybody remember that? Right?
I think Tommy does.
We ran that. We only ran that every other play in at that time with the wing tee. But I broke my thumb. I was tackled on an option play and broke my thumb, and so my career as a quarterback, starting quarterback for the Wildcats, lasted just a little more than 2 quarters, and then it was done. So I ended up having to have surgery on my thumb. But those kind of things, and I see these young men that have an injury now, and those things that come along, and you never think about it at the time, but because that happened, Alan. And I did get to come back and play, the last 4 or 5 games of the season as actually wide receiver with a cast on my hand. But because of that event, it really spotlighted, because one thing, I was going to try to play college football.
Right.
And what I didn't realize was that it allowed me to focus on high jump, and I ended up going to University of Houston to run track for Coach Tellez and the Houston Cougars, which are having a heck of a football season this fall.
Yes, they are. Go Cougs.
And so it was kind of one of those life lessons thing, which I think is a great thing about high school sports and seeing these young men and young women that participate in sports. You don't realize it so much at the time, but those really are. It's an opportunity to have a lot of life lessons.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's something that, of course, a lot of kids these days, you ask any 7th or 8th grade athlete what they want to do for a living when they grow up. Yeah. And to a man, they all say either the NBA or the NFL. And, of course, you've been through the whole recruitment process, and, you know what it takes, and you know what the statistics are there. And, what kind of advice would you have for some of our young men that have that as their only goal? Yeah, well,
you said that there's great things with having dreams and goals, but it doesn't hurt to have that education too, right? I mean, it's a very small percentage that are ever going to make a living off of playing sports, and so for those that are in that situation, and I got the opportunity to go to college and with a scholarship for track. That was great, but at the same time, I grew up in a household. My parents were always, big on grades and making sure we were taking care of that area. And I don't think I've ever gotten paid a check from anything with sports. My wife's here, Jean. She could validate that for me. But you talk about playing for Coach McQueen, and I think the same thing for these young men, young men that got to play for Coach Spradlin, and now these guys with Coach Stewart. I have a son, Gunnar Coley. He's a sophomore. Gunnar plays on the JV, and he is so proud to be part of the Wildcat program. And I just see the way Coach Stewart handles these guys. He's not. He's treating them like young men, and that was the same thing Coach McQueen did. He expected a level of excellence from us. I think he instilled in us a mindset and a culture to be better than we really. Beyond the potential that we really have.
Sure.
And I think that's a neat thing about being in Temple and being in our community is that's it's part of the DNA here. I mean, that's part of what we're about.
And that's why you and I were so happy to jump into that booth. I mean, the Wildcat pride runs deep no matter, and I didn't even play football, but I bleed blue. Temple's very important to me, this whole town and everything about it. And I was going to ask you a little bit, I think I seem to remember something about Gunner actually having a say in whether or not you guys moved back, because you guys weren't living. Y'all haven't always lived in Temple.
No, we some people know that we used to own the French Quarter Cafe. Our family started it in 1985 and sold it in 2003. Gene and I were running the business, and after we sold that, I took a position with a company in Houston. So we moved away in 2003. Then 2007, we spent almost 8 years in Salt Lake City, Utah, and so the company that I was running there had sold to another company. It was just a perfect time, and Gene and I were talking about what do we want to do. Our 2 oldest boys had graduated high school in Salt Lake City. Gunner was in 7th grade, and we really just felt like that where we were, it was a great time for us to come back to Temple, and I still remember us driving around that day in Salt Lake and just saying, why are we staying here? Utah's a beautiful state. Salt Lake's a beautiful city, mountains and all of that. 4 seasons, leaves actually change color.
Right, right.
And but what we really ultimately decided is we wanted to be back in a place where community has and there's so much more appreciation for that, having been outside of the city and coming back here. We wanted to be in a community where people matter. And people matter was even a theme that we talked about. And in Temple, things that we just took for granted. And so our families are here. We talked about we wanted to grow older with people that we care about and that care about us. And so we're glad to be back, Alan.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a great place to be.
I moved back for all those same reasons, man. And I got to tell you, it's a pleasure for me getting to work with you, having known each other for so long. And we even hung out quite a bit in Houston, though we may not want to go into too much of that. But anyway, so I guess we'll be back here in about 60 seconds or so with more Inside Wildcat Football on News Radio 1400 KTEM. Art, thank you very much for coming tonight. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I will see you again on Friday night. We will be at A&M Consolidated.
A&M Consolidated, and I'll tell you the last thing, Alan, is that, hey, the Temple Independent School District is the best gig in Central Texas.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, hey, facts are facts.
Hey, they are. I mean, we're in the best school district in the area.
Yeah, you got that right. Go Cats. And we're back live from Wings Pizza and Things, sponsor of Inside Wildcat Football on News Radio 1400 KTEM. We're here tonight after our first district game on Friday night against Waco University. We're here with Coach Scott Stewart. Coach, it was nice to get a win under our belt that first district game, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
You don't really have to expand on that too much, do you? Yeah, yes, it was nice, right?
Two things I know about football is winning never gets old and excuses are for losers. So that's what we always preach to the kids.
I actually use that as a Facebook post now, as excuses are for losers. Of course, I do give you credit for that. I write Coach Scott Stewart on there.
Well, I asked him, we said it today, I said, if it's 95 tomorrow, we're going to come out here and work hard. And I said, because winning never gets old and excuses, and they'll finish the sentence for me. So I don't know. You hope at some point it sinks in.
Well, and, speaking of, 95 tomorrow, how was it today actually maybe getting to put a little windbreaker on out there in practice?
It was awesome.
It finally feels like football.
Those kids were buzzing around like a chainsaw, I mean, they're excited. It's feeling like football. It's not, they begged me last week to take the pads off, the pants off, and I wouldn't do it because we hadn't played real well. And so, you know, now they're like, I said, you want to take the pants off? And they're like, no, sir, no, keep them on. So it's been good. You know, they lighten their spirits a little bit. But, I mean, again, to me, the difference between winning and losing is that much. You execute, good things happen. You focus, good things happen. I mean, to me, winning's a byproduct of doing things right. So, and, you know, teams like Cedar Ridge and Midway have something to do with you doing things wrong, but not everything. Right. I mean, you go out and execute. Last week was our best week of focus, and we beat them as bad as any team that's ever been through Temple has beat University. So, I mean, you can't tell me that. I mean, they're not as – I think they're a better team now than they were 2 years ago, and – you know, it was a very similar score. This team can be good. We're young. We're going to have to make adjustments. You know, I mean, it took us a drive to get kind of adjusted what they're doing. I got 5 sophomores on the field. It takes them a little bit to adjust. I wish it didn't, but I don't hit the panic button. I don't have that in me. You know, you have a plan. You stick to the plan. If the plan don't work, then you scrap it. You go back to the drawing board on the weekend. You come up with another plan to go get somebody else. So we stuck with the plan. We did exactly on it. Everybody's going to say, well, why didn't you do the rest of the game? Why didn't you do that on the first series? Well, we did. We just did it better. You know, it takes kids sometimes a little bit to see something brand new, and we made adjustments, and I was proud of them. So,
well, I'll tell you what, it was sure a fun game to watch, and you know, most of it happened in the first half. I mean, there was just score after score after score. I think we had 49 points at halftime.
Yep.
And they had 6.
Right.
And you know, something that really stood out to me that game was a quarterback rating of 161.9, 9 out of 11 completion, 9 completions out of 11 attempts, over an 80% completion rate.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, when your quarterback plays well, you got a chance, and that's what we talked about. I mean, you know, when Reed and I think you saw a little bit that Jared came in. Jared could play a little bit too. You know?
Well, that was fun to watch too because, like I said earlier, I graduated high school with his dad. Of course, Reed's parents were a year ahead of me in high school. They're a lot older than I am. But,
yeah.
But you know, it's kind of neat to see friends of mine's kids back there.
Oh yeah, you're getting old.
Yeah, yeah. I'm older than you are too, so that's for sure.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, you know that Reed dialed it up, and when he takes what the defense gives us, you know, and again, I mean, does Cedar Ridge have something to do with that? Yes, they do. I mean, I'm not going backwards, but you know, good teams cause mistakes, but not all of them.
Sure.
And so you don't even get. I mean, if you know what to do and you have a good plan and you go out and execute the plan, that just gives you a chance. You still got to go out and make plays, but when your quarterback's tossing the ball around, when he's reading what they give you, you know, you got a chance. And the other night we played good enough on defense to have Reed be comfortable and kind of get a lead. And, you know, that's part of it too. When you play, if I'm not mistaken, that's the first time we've led at halftime. So, I mean, it's like we're uptight, you know, and we got to get rid of that. If we're down by 15 or we're up by 15, you just got to go play this game loose. You got to be relaxed. You got to go play your guts out. And to me, that's what this game is about. So I was proud of our kids. You know, I know that University is probably not as good as some of the other teams we played. They're not as good as some of the teams we played, but we played a lot better as well. We made them look worse, in my opinion, than they really are because I've seen drastic improvement. I mean, they were rushing. They had one kid rush for 840-something yards in 4 games.
Before they even got to us.
Yeah, and he rushed for 26 yards on 11 carries. So, yeah. I mean, we're doing something other people ain't doing. You know?
That's true. And actually,
or we at least have the ability to, and we don't always do it. That's what frustrates the dog out of me is, you know, when we get mature enough and focused enough to play consistently well, then we'll be fine.
Yeah, and it looked like that happened on
right.
Friday night. I mean, the mistakes were very few and far between, if even noticeable at all. One of the coolest things to me also is that in this day of all this passing and everything, we had over 300 yards of rushing on Friday night.
Everybody thinks this is a spread offense to throw it around. We take what the defense gives you, but this is a power run offense. I mean, I've heard Coach Briles talk about it. I've heard Coach Spradlin talk about it. I've heard, you know, the guy at Tulsa, you know, I've heard Coach Monty talk about it. Sterling Gilbert at Texas. It is a power run offense, and then you chunk and dunk it around when they try to load the box to stop the power run.
Sure.
So you just take the matchups that they give you. But everybody's always kind of amazed, man, y'all run the ball for a spread offense. This is not a spread offense. This is old school pound your butt football. That's why I've been so adamant about our offensive linemen getting nasty. because if we can't run the power, if we can't run the dart, if we can't run, just that smash mouth plays that those what used to be 1983 football, where they would get 28 people in the box and just try to smash you in the face. That's what we do. We just do it from different formations. So if we will stay, keep getting better up front. We've changed some looks, we've changed some personnel, we've moved some people around, and that's what when you got a bunch of question marks, that's what you have to do.
Yeah, and our offensive line is playing really good football lately, which is evidenced by all these rushing yards. Franklin obviously had another great game, but it was really fun also to watch a couple of juniors we had come in that really had some impressively tough runs.
Oh, yeah.
Running over people downfield.
Oh, I mean, those kids have been that since they were freshmen in high school. What John Q. Public doesn't understand is they're not always to practice on time, and they don't always know exactly where to line up, and they don't always make the best decisions in the classroom. And I'm not giving any particulars about any one of them, but if they're not stepping on the field, it's because they hadn't earned the right step on the field for whatever reason that is.
Sure.
And when they get their opportunity, they need to make the most of it. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If we can't clean up some of the other stuff, they won't step on the field, and they have cleaned it up. And I think they've cleaned it up because they no longer get to just act like they want to act. And I'm not saying either one of those guys are a problem, but that was you're going to have to be dependable to your teammates. You're going to have to do things right before you get an opportunity to tote the rock. And I know a lot of people out there don't get to see the ins and outs, and they were like, well, why ain't that humongous kid sitting right there that runs hard? Why don't he get in? Or, I'm sure I'm a little bit smarter when we're successful. I guess I've been pretty dumb the last couple of weeks, but they don't get to see that. Well, that's my job, and that's what I take very seriously. And you're going to earn the right to go out there and tote the rock for the Temple Wildcats, or throw the ball, or catch the ball, or tackle, or anything else. I'm not in particular talking about those anybody, but. There's some other things that go into play as to why you hadn't seen as much of some people and you've seen more of others.
Art touched on that a little bit in the interview we had just a little bit ago about, being recruited and planning on having a career in sports after you get out of high school of some kind, or at least even going to play college sports. And you mentioned that, you have business to take care of before you get on that field. And I think that's an important and a very important lesson for our young men to learn.
Well, it's not only for recruiting, because they want to know what kind of person they are too. They want to know. I've never had them come in and say how many tackles this kid had. They want to know, is he a good kid? Is he a turd? Does he talk back? They want to know those things. But I'm going to tell you more than that, Alan. I've got to go home and look at my son in the face and let him know that his daddy stands for something.
Sure.
You can do things right and still be uber successful. You don't have to be the beat your chest guy. You don't have to spike the ball in the end zone. You don't have to look at me world, look at me world, look at me world. You can have a band of brothers. You can go fight your guts out. You can give the credit to your teammates and your opponents, and you can still be a Hall of Famer. And that's the expectation. That I'm not gonna, if that costs us games because I'm not playing a kid that is probably more talented but won't do things right, then I'll go. I can't wait to see what the good Lord has ahead of me, because that's, to me, and that's not radio talk. That's what I tell the kids. You want to know why you're not playing? Go ask your fifth period teacher why you're not playing.
Certainly.
Go ask your position coach that you ain't made a meeting on time yet why you're not playing. So, and again, I'm not saying that to say the guys you hadn't seen are doing anything wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that though there's other things that come into effect and come into account when you see what you see, when you see the final product on the field. We talk all the time. Your three best abilities are your accountability, dependability, and responsibility. So, if you can take care of those three things, to me, winning is a byproduct of doing things right. It's not all about the winning and then act like a turd.
Right.
So,
and that's why we're there. I teach school, I coach golf, but that's why we're there. School is there for the education primarily, right?
Right.
And the sports is a reward for doing things right.
I hope these kids, I hope 50 of them get to make a career in sports. But I'm going to tell you what, and we talked about it today, if the good Lord willing and the creek don't rise, you're going to spend a lot more time on this earth not being a football player than you are being a football player.
Certainly.
I'm thinking about the next 50 years. I'm thinking about what you're going to tell your son when he has questions, not oh my gosh, I got to get you to the college football game. You know what I'm saying? I've got that. That's a byproduct of that's a byproduct of being successful and have a good program, that more kids will get an opportunity. But I'm not going to – I mean, I can't function. They've got to go be dads. They've got to go be husbands. They've got to go be sons and brothers. And so, you know, and again, a lot of people say, well, that's just talk when he talks in front of people. That's exactly what we talk about every single day. I think the people that do it right, they're more successful. When you go talk to people that run good programs and you emulate people that are successful year in and year out, I hope and I think the people I've talked to anyway, they do things right. And so, I mean, I'm not going to sacrifice that. I mean, I'm blessed to be where I'm at. This is a great town, like Mr. Coley said. I mean, Temple's the best place I've ever worked, and I've had about 5 to compare it to. But so I haven't been all over the state. But this is what you dream about. It's a one-horse town. The fan base is phenomenal. You know, borderline rabid at times.
Sir,
but that's
they're all sitting right out there too.
Yeah. Borderline, yeah. So, but that's what it's about, and that's why I love this place. That's why when I walk up at 7:30 in the morning on a Friday morning, and there's people around the corner to buy tickets. I always get a little chant or something going just because it's incredible. So, I don't know, but you can have all that and still do things right, in my
Certainly.
opinion.
Well, we've got, one more little thing. I got to see my cousin Harrison Walker on the field Friday night, and I saw him knock somebody silly, and that was a lot of fun for me to see. But we've got a little bit of a test coming up this Friday night against A&M Consolidated. We're playing on their field.
Yep.
What do we know about A&M Consolidated, and what are we looking for?
Go back and watch like 19 when the UT won the national championship. 1968, 1969, when they were running the triple option veer.
Oh, wow.
And they do it. They run that offense, except they do it from every formation known to man. They spread to the end of the world, but it is triple option. It is assignment football. It is, if I had any hair, I'd be pulling my hair out trying to make sure we fit everything up. But, I mean, you've got to play assignment football. We've got to have our sophomores knowing where to go, what to do. Every time, not some of the time, because when you screw up against triple option football, they bang their head on the goalpost. And right about the time you get greedy or you get lazy with your eyes, they'll throw it right over the top. So, I hadn't watched a whole lot to this point. Again, I usually start breaking down their whole team and seeing what they're about, a whole team about Wednesday, because I let those offensive coaches do what they do, but they're not giving up many points either. So this will be a test. This is a good district. It's good from top to bottom. If you happen to finish this district season out and you end up in the playoffs, you're going to earn it, which is what we talk all the time. So we're going to have to beat good football teams if we want to go where we say we want to go. So we're going to have to go play assignment football to do it.
Yeah, and this is supposedly one of the better teams that we're going to see in this district.
They've got a quarterback as good as anybody in the state of Texas.
Well, the only loss they've had on the year is to current number 5 Richmond Foster, and that was only by 6 or 8 points.
Right.
And that was a close game.
Yeah, they're good. They're real good at what they do. They're real. I mean, they play hard. They do what good teams do. But again, we don't shy away from these games. These are the ones that you're going to see what you're made of.
Sure.
You know, we've had tests. We've had dog fights. We've been in those fights. So getting ready for something like this, they're very talented. They're very good. They're very big. But we've seen that. We've done that. So we're going to have to go play assignment football and just try to hit them in the mouth.
Well, Coach, it's been a pleasure once again to have you on the show. This has been Alan Roark with Inside Wildcat Football live from Wings Pizza and Things. We will be back again next week after yet another Wildcat win. That's what I'm predicting.
I'll take it.
But once again, everybody have a good evening. We thank you for joining us.